Good morning, everybody. My name is Arnold. You're in my kitchen here in the Ironbound section of Newark. Welcome back. Reading the book Winnie the Pooh. Last week we read the first chapter, which is online for anybody who hasn't heard it. You can go back and listen to it. Now we're going to read chapter 2, in which Pooh goes visiting and gets into a tight place. Wonder what that's going to be. Edward Bear, known to his friends as Winnie the Pooh, or Pooh for short, was walking through the forest one day, humming proudly to himself. He had made a little hum that very morning as he was doing his stoutness exercises in front of the glass. Tra-la-la, tra-la-la, as he stretched up as high as he could, and then tra-la-la, tra-la-la, oh help, la, as he tried to reach his toes. I could understand that. Sometimes it's hard to reach your toes. After breakfast, he said it over and over to himself until he had learned it all by heart, and now he was humming it right through properly. And it went like this: tra-la-la, tra-la-la, rum-dee-da-dumble-dee-tum, dumble-dee-dumble-dee-dum, tiddle-dee-dee, tiddle-dee-dee, rum-dee-dee-rum-dee-dee-rum. And here's a picture of Pooh looking in the glass. And here's a picture of Winnie the Pooh in the forest. Well, he was humming this hum to himself and walking along gaily, wondering what everybody else was doing and what it felt like being somebody else, when suddenly he came to a sandy bank, and in the bank was a large hole. "Ah," said Pooh, "rum-tum-dilly-a-dum. If I know anything, that hole means rabbit," he said, "and rabbit means company. And company means food and listening and the humming and such like rum-tum-tum-dilly-dum." So he bent down and put his head into the hole, and he called out, "Is anybody home?" There was a sudden scuffling noise from inside the hole, and then silence. "What I said was, is anybody home?" called Pooh very loudly. "No," said the voice, and then added, "You needn't shout so loud. I heard you quite well the first time." "Bother," said Pooh. "Isn't there anybody here at all?" "Nobody." Sounds very strange. How come somebody's answering if there's nobody there? Winnie the Pooh took his head out of the hole and thought for a little, and he said to himself, "There must be somebody there, because somebody must have said nobody." So he put his head back in the hole and said, "Hello, Rabbit, is that you?" "No," said Rabbit, in a different sort of voice this time. "But isn't that Rabbit's voice?" "I don't think so," said Rabbit. "Is it meant to be?" "Oh," said Pooh. He took his head out of the hole and had another think. Then he put his head back and said, "Well, could you very kindly tell me where Rabbit is?" "He's gone to see his friend Pooh Bear, who was a great friend of his." "That's me," said Bear, very much surprised. "What sort of me?" "Pooh Bear." "Are you sure?" said Rabbit, still more surprised. Quite sure," said Pooh. "Oh, well, then come in." And there's Pooh. Oops, can you see that? There's Pooh coming in to visit Rabbit. So Pooh pushed and pushed and pushed his way through the hole, and at last he got in. "You're quite right," said Rabbit, looking at him all over. "It is you. Glad to see you." "Who did you think it was?" "Well, I wasn't sure. You know how it is in the forest. One can't have anybody coming into one's house. One has to be very careful. What about a mouthful of something?" Pooh always liked a little something at 11 o'clock in the morning. He was very glad to see Rabbit getting out the plates and mugs when Rabbit said, "Honey, or condensed milk with your bread?" He was so excited that he said, "Both." And then, so as not to seem greedy, he added, "But don't bother about the bread, please." And for a long time after that, he said nothing, until at last, humming to himself in a rather sickly voice, he got up, shook Rabbit lovingly by the paw, and said that he must be going. "Must you?" said Rabbit politely. "Well," said Pooh, "I could stay a little longer if you—" and he tried very hard to look in the direction of the larder. Sounds like Pooh's still hungry. "As a matter of fact," said Rabbit, "I was going out directly." "Oh, well then, I'll be going. Goodbye." "Well, goodbye, if you're sure you won't have any more." "Is there any more?" asked Pooh, quickly. Rabbit took the covers off the dishes and said, "Nah, there isn't." "I thought not," said Pooh, nodding to himself. "Well, goodbye, I must be going." So he started to climb out of the hole. He pulled with his front paws and pulled with his back claws, and in a little while his nose was out in the open again, and then his ears, and then his front paws, and then his shoulders, and then— "Oh, help," said Pooh. "I'd better go back." And you see, Pooh, because he ate so much at Rabbit's, is too fat to get back out of the hole. "Oh, bother," said Pooh. "I shall have to go on. I can't do either. Oh, help and bother." What is Pooh going to do? He's stuck right there in the hole. Now, by this time, Rabbit wanted to go out for a walk too, and finding the front door full, he went out by the back door and came around to Pooh and looked at him. "Hello, are you stuck?" he asked. And there you see Rabbit, talking to Pooh, who's stuck in the hole. "No," said Pooh carelessly. "I was just resting and thinking and humming to myself." "Here, give us a paw." Pooh stretched out a paw, and Rabbit pulled and pulled. "Ow!" cried Pooh. "You're hurting." "The fact is," said Rabbit, "you're stuck." "It all comes," said Pooh crossly, "of not having front doors big enough." "It comes," said Rabbit sternly, "of eating too much." "I thought at a time," said Rabbit, "only I didn't like to say anything, that one of us was eating too much, and I knew it wasn't me. Well, I shall go and fetch Christopher Robin." I hope Christopher Robin can help, because what is Pooh going to do just stuck there in a hole? Can't get in and he can't get out. Christopher Robin lived at the other end of the forest, and when he came back with Rabbit and saw the front half of Pooh, he said, "Silly old bear," in such a loving voice that everyone felt quite hopeful again. "I was just beginning to think," said Bear, sniffling slightly, "that Rabbit might never be able to use his front door again. And I should hate that," he said. "So should I," said Rabbit. "Use his front door again?" said Christopher Robin. "Of course he'll use his front door again." "Good," said Rabbit. we can't pull you out, Pooh, we might push you back in. Rabbit scratched his whiskers thoughtfully and pointed out that once Pooh was pushed back, he was back, and of course nobody was more glad to see Pooh than he was. Still, it was some lived in the trees and some lived underground, and... You mean I never get out, said Pooh. I mean, said Rabbit, that having got so far, it seems a pity to waste it. Christopher Robin nodded. There's only one thing to be done, he said. We shall have to wait for you to get thin again. Wonder how long that could take. How long does getting thin take? Asked Pooh anxiously. About a week, I should think. I can't stay here for a week. You can stay here all right, silly old bear. It's getting you out which is so difficult. We'll read to you, said Rabbit cheerfully. And I hope it won't snow, he added. And I say, old fella, you're taking up a good deal of room in my home. Do you mind if I use your back legs as a towel horse? Because I mean, there they are, doing nothing. It will be very convenient just to hang towels. A week, said Pooh, gloomily. What about meals? I'm afraid no meals, said Christopher Robin, because getting thinner quicker. But we will read to you. Bear began to sigh, and then found he couldn't because he was so tightly stuck, and a tear rolled down his eye, and he said, Bear, would you read a sustaining book, such as would help and comfort a wedged bear in great tightness? So for a week, Christopher Robin read that sort of book at the north end of Pooh. And Rabbit hung his washing towel on the south end. And in between, Bear felt himself getting slender and slender. And at the end of the week, Christopher Robin said, Now. And there we see the picture of Christopher Robin reading to Pooh and a rabbit hanging his towel on the backside of Pooh. So he took hold of Pooh's front paws, and Rabbit took hold of Christopher Robin, and all Rabbit's friends and relations took hold of Rabbit, and they all pulled together. And there's a picture of them all pulling together. Oops. Look at that there. And you can see all of them pulling, trying to get Pooh out of the hole. So he took hold, and for a long time Pooh only said, Ow! And oh! And then all of a sudden he said, Pop! Just as if a cork were coming out of a bottle. And Christopher Robin and Rabbit and all Christopher Robin's friends and relations went head over heels backwards. And on the top of them came Winnie the Pooh, free! So with a nod of thanks to his friends, he went on with his walk through the forest, humming proudly to himself. But Christopher Robin looked at him lovely and said to himself, Silly old bear. And that is the end of chapter 2, in which Pooh visited Rabbit, ate a little too much, got stuck in the hole, but after a week of being read to, Christopher Robin, Rabbit, and all his friends and relations were able to pull him out of the hole. See you next week when we'll read chapter 3 of Winnie the Pooh. Have a good week, folks.